The baby's cries sliced through the midnight silence like a warning bell. Seconds later, a low growl echoed from the hallway, and by the time Sarah reached the nursery door, her loyal dog Max had already vanished into the shadows, chasing something that hissed at first. It was easy to dismiss as new parent paranoia. Sarah was exhausted. The sleepless nights, the stress of moving, the isolation of their old countryside house. It was a perfect storm for frayed nerves. But something about the nursery unsettled her. It started when Lily began crying every night at exactly 2:17 a.m. Not a fussy whimper, but a sharp, piercing wail. Every single night. Sarah tried everything, feeding, rocking, lullabies, but nothing worked until Max, their German shepherd, entered the room. Only then would Lily slowly quiet down, staring into far corner of the ceiling, wide-eyed and silent. Max's behavior was changing too. The once playful and calm dog had grown tense, especially near the nursery. He would sit outside the door, ears perked, body stiff, growling at nothing. Sometimes he'd pace in front of the baby's crib and snarl at a particular wall, hackles raised, as if sensing something lurking just beyond it. Then came the slithering. Late at night, after the crying stopped, Sarah began hearing faint, dragging noises, like something long and dry moving across wood. But whenever she turned on the lights, the room was empty. Still, the sound persisted. She checked the walls, the vents, even on the floorboards. Nothing. One night, she reviewed footage from the baby monitor. Around 2:17 a.m., the screen flickered, static crackled, and for a split second, a distorted silhouette flashed across the image. It wasn't shaped like any human or animal she knew, long, thin, and impossibly tall, with what looked like a misshapen head and limbs that coiled like rope. When the image disappeared, Lily started crying again, and Max lunged at the wall. Sarah told herself it was a glitch. It had to be. But the next night, it happened again. The same cry, the same growl, the same hiss-like sound just beyond the walls. She tried recording it with her phone, but the audio came back distorted, just static and a low-frequency hum that made her ears ache. Her instincts screamed at her. Something was in the house. Something old. Something wrong. She couldn't see it, but Max could, and Lily, in her innocent way, could feel it. The house wasn't just settling. It was waking up. The storm rolled in without warning, shaking the windows with wind and rage. Thunder cracked like a whip above the hills, and Sarah couldn't sleep. Her husband was away on a late shift, and the isolation of the house had never felt heavier. Then at 2:17 a.m., Lily cried. But it wasn't the usual cry. This one was shrill, terrified, like she had seen something no child should see. Sarah bolted upright. Before she could reach the nursery, Max was already there. He growled so deeply it vibrated the floor beneath her feet. His bark exploded through the house as he lunged into the hallway, chasing something. But Sarah saw nothing, just shadows darting across the walls, moving in strange, serpentine patterns that didn't make sense. They slithered, twisted, and recoiled like smoke made of darkness. She sprinted to the nursery and found Lily standing in her crib, stiff and trembling, pointing to the ceiling. The overhead light flickered violently. Max barked again, this time from the far end of the hall. Sarah turned just in time to catch a fleeting glimpse of something at the edge of her vision. Something long, black, and fast, disappearing around a corner that shouldn't even exist. She grabbed Lily and cradled her tightly, but the air in the room had changed. It was cold, impossibly cold, like the heat had been sucked away. The walls groaned, and the wallpaper near the crib began to ripple, as though something was moving just behind it. Then she saw her. Standing in the corner, half in shadow, was the figure of a woman, faceless, smooth skin where eyes and a mouth should have been. Her head tilted slowly, unnaturally, like it was listening for something. Her hand reached toward the crib, long fingers curling and uncurling. Sarah screamed and backed into the hallway, only to find Max tearing at something unseen, teeth snapping, his growl full of fury and fear. The shadows around him writhed like snakes caught in a net, resisting his every bite. And just as suddenly as it began, it all stopped. The lights returned. The house was quiet again. Max limped back towards Sarah, panting, eyes locked on the darkness behind him. Sarah knew this wasn't a one-time event. Something had been disturbed, and it was only just beginning the next morning. Sarah could barely hold herself together. Max stayed close to her side, refusing to leave the nursery doorway. He limped slightly, his flank scratched by something she couldn't explain. Lily, strangely, was calm, as if the night's horrors had already been erased from her tiny mind. But Sarah couldn't forget. Not the shadows, not the faceless woman, and definitely not the way the walls had moved. She needed answers, driven by a desperation she'd never known. Sarah began searching the house top to bottom. That's when she noticed a small section of the nursery floor that sounded hollow when she tapped it. It had always been under the rug, near the far corner where Lily so often pointed. Using a screwdriver in sheer determination, she pried up the boards. A hidden crawlspace lay beneath, sealed with old wood and cobwebs. The air that rushed up from it was thick and damp, heavy with the smell of rot and earth. She shone a flashlight inside and immediately recoiled. Bones, dozens of them, small and delicate, clearly animal, but arranged unnaturally. Beside them lay an old rattle, wooden, hand-carved, smeared with something brownish-black, and worst of all, a long, coiled snakeskin, far too large for any native snake. She called a local historian who had once mentioned the area's superstitions at a town hall meeting. He arrived grim-faced, and when he saw the crawlspace, he paled. He told her the story of a woman from over a century ago, a widow, a midwife, cast out by the town for practicing dark rituals. They said she kept a child, a monstrous one, born without a face and cursed to never see the sun. She raised it in secret, calling it her precious snake. One night, a fire took their cabin. Neither body was ever found. But ever since, townspeople had whispered the crying baby and the faceless woman, seen near certain houses where newborns lived. The historian's voice trembled. They say she returns when she hears a baby cry to offer a child a playmate. Sarah's blood ran cold. She sealed the crawlspace, bless the room, and vowed to move the very next day. But that night, at 2:17 a.m., Lily cried again. Max stood guard, and from the shadows near the wall, something slithered. This time, Sarah didn't run. She stared into the dark, because she finally understood what was watching her. And it was waiting sometimes. The past doesn't stay buried, and the greatest dangers are the ones we choose not to see. Trust your instincts. Protect what is innocent, and never ignore the signs when something feels deeply wrong. Even in the safety of home, darkness can crawl in quietly until it's too late.